Hi, it's Amanda from Wealth Planning Partners, and I am with the lovely Little Miss WOWW, Michelle Hoskin, all the way from Hitchin in the UK. And I think this time it's your summertime, so it's nice and warm for you while it's, well, a very chilly, probably 20 degrees winter in Australia for me. So it's probably about the
We
same
don't want to
temperature.
talk. We're not talking about your winters. They're fake winters. Don't give me that.
Yeah, we are very, very fortunate. So, Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about what you do, who you work with, your company Standards International, and just all about you?
Yes, so of course I can. So, Michelle Hoskin, as Amanda said, I'm also known as Little Miss WOWW, and I have the beautiful privilege of working and coaching and supporting financial planners, predominantly who run businesses. So my skill set allows me to advise them on how to run efficient, effective, and successful financial planning practices, and I do that with financial planners all over the world, which is how Amanda and I met. I have a daughter who is 9 going on 19, who, as we're talking about money, has only recently had her own little credit card. That was catastrophic mistake number one on my part, but we'll talk about that for sure. So I've got Ruby is 9. Busy. Obviously, the current pandemic with the coronavirus has thrown interesting challenges our way. Recently single. So that's obviously been quite interesting and exciting and traumatic all at the same time. So just really excited to join you on this podcast.
Thank you. So the purpose of today's chat was to go through and rediscuss with some people I'd interviewed in Financial Secrets Revealed about, again, I suppose their history with money, their family values and beliefs and how that's impacted them, what lessons they've had to learn along the way, and what lessons they'd also like to pass on. Now, Michelle, you said your folks, it was all very middle class. Mum and dad both worked, or mum was a homemaker, dad worked. Can you tell us a little bit about life growing up for you?
Yeah, so my mum was only 20 when she had me, and then she had my brother at 24, 19 and 23. So my mum was still growing and I suppose and still finding herself when we were born. So my dad, as a natural provider, is very much, and my brother, interestingly, we've got a few dramas going on with my brother at the moment, but he's very much taken my dad's approach to family support, like in terms of if you interviewed my brother, he's almost a carbon copy of my dad. It's incredible. So dad was always extremely hardworking, no challenge too small. He worked as a builder, kind of learning electrics, plumbing, all on the side, as he did when he was also working down the mines, because obviously where we were living in sort of rural Derbyshire, obviously there were still the mines and the pits that were open at that time. So, dad, I just remember, I don't really remember my dad's, I remember my dad being around a lot. It's quite interesting because I remember him being there a lot, but I also know in the same vein how incredibly hard he worked, doing double jobs. And then when he wasn't working, he was building the extension on the house that we lived in, or he was building a garage, or he was renovating, sort of doing the garden. There was always something going on, but I always remember him being around, really. And then, as we got older, Mum took part-time jobs. She worked in a factory, in a fabric factory, making clothes for Marks and Spencers and the like, which obviously all those factories have now gone, of course, because industry in that area just sort of vanished overnight. And she used to work what was called a twilight shift. And I used to remember, and my fondest memory of Mum going to work was Dad would then be looking after us at night and put us to bed. And before bed every night, he'd get us a little bowl of sweets, a little mixture of little sweets. We'd sit on the sofa in our pajamas after we'd had a shower or a bath. And we'd eat these sweets watching telly. Now, there's no way at
I was going to say, it's a wonder you slept after that. Parenting tip 101. What not to do.
No wonder I've got so much energy at 42. I'm still full of sugar. But we just used to do that, and then Mum would. We must have picked her up at 9 o'clock, I reckon. We must have still been away. I don't really remember times and stuff. It's fabulous, isn't it? You just forget stuff like that. But yeah, just extremely hardworking. And it's the same now. Like, if I shared some of the stories of the stuff that he's done, it's just incredible for his age. But he's just got that drive, and he's always had it. Always.
Yep. I remember you saying when I spoke to you last time that sheer drive was the main message you learned from your father's example, and just being 100%. A really hard worker, but also that you couldn't recall any conversations ever about money or any formal education even about money. But I suppose there's all those unspoken lessons that you learn from them.
It was all
just
unspoken.
Get off your butt, you said, and get out there. And
well, I watched him. I mean, ultimately, I watched him, and it's interesting. So, just to kind of put that into perspective, right? So, like my dad's, I mentioned in the book that my dad, I don't ever remember going on a crap holiday. Never. I don't ever remember going to some dodgy 1-star, 2-star resort. Never. So, my dad used to work incredibly hard. And we used to go on beautiful, from the age of probably, I would have been 8, Paul would have been 4. We went to Ibiza, was our very first holiday, and they just got better and better and better, these holidays. And it's interesting because I've weirdly, these kind of 4 or 5-star hotels, which must have cost an absolute fortune at the time. Now I kind of think back, I've been quite insistent on keeping that standard of holidays going.
Yep.
Interesting, right? So I won't go on lots of holidays, but I go on good holidays. Where my brother, he's gone for cheap, kind of horrible holidays, like 2-star. So it's bizarre. Like, my brother's gone into this sort of save money mode, quite frugal with money in certain aspects, where I've sort of maintained some of my dad's standards when it comes to things like holidays and stuff. So
one of the things you said was the quality over quantity was a family trait.
100%.
Your bedroom had no cheap toys or touristy purchases. Nice quality bed linen, one nice pair of jeans, good clothes, good quality experiences. So
everything was that. And my dad's still the same now. Like, he won't just go and buy wardrobes for bedrooms. He'll have them made. He won't just go and buy sofas from, the sofa store. He'll have them made.
Yep.
He's had beds made. Everything's super high quality, super expensive.
And is that because he believes the quality lasts and it's more economic in 100%. The long term?
100%.
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking at these wardrobes and the stuff that's surrounding me. They'll outlive me. They're that good quality. They'll probably outlive Ruby.
So that expression, they don't make them like they used to, is about everything your father gets made by the sound of it.
100%. That's why he makes them. And he'll look at stuff and go, this is crap. He'll touch it and go, this is crap stuff. And then he'll go and have them made.
Fair enough.
It's insane. It's insane. It's a one-off, for sure. For sure.
Now, I asked if you'd had personally any financial setbacks, and you were talking about the breakdown of your relationship with Ruby's father, that was quite a time for you of financial setback. Can you talk us through what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, it was a financial setback. And probably when you interviewed me, I was still dealing with that financial setback. But in truth, in the whole grand scheme of things, it kind of really wasn't. What I suppose I had to do was I had to... Big sums of money had to be a consideration for me. So, Martin and I bought a house relatively cheaply because we bought before the kind of housing market in the UK just absolutely skyrocketed. So we saved up some money, lived with his granddad, and we saved £24,000. So we saved £1,000 each per month for a year. So we put a £24,000 deposit down, bought a house, and then our outgoings were quite, modest, really. So then when we separated, luckily the business that we were both in and are still in was generating enough income to run both of our households. And all of a sudden we were buying brand new sofas for Martin, TVs, beds. Literally, we kitted him out in his own flat because he was moving out. So the sort of, it wasn't necessarily traumatic really, but what it was is I just understood what it felt like to handle big sums of money again. And then we sold the house, of course, and then you've got £150,000 landing in your bank account, which you didn't have before. And the whole thing was traumatic because of the separation, but money obviously was the means by which lots of things could happen. So I was very thankful that we had money and we'd been modest in our spending, and we'd not sort of been, sort of over,
living beyond your means,
frivolous with money.
Yep.
So it was just, we were lucky that, yeah, absolutely, and it allowed us to have a relatively steady separation because we had the money to make stuff happen after that.
Yep. Now, you work with a lot of financial professionals, obviously. So one of the questions I liked asking you was, what's the best financial advice you've ever been given, seeing your entire life is spent around financial professionals? So do you remember what you told me?
I do. I remember. Wasn't it about sort of splitting up the money? It was, wasn't it? Wasn't it just? I think. Well, and since then, I've actually had better advice. Interestingly, so
excellent.
When I kind of, when Martin and I were thinking about selling the house, I was stressing out to the eyeballs on, should I sell? Should I buy Martin out? Should I keep a property? Should I stay in the property market? Blah, 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 blah. And my financial advisor, who actually is more of a, to be fair, he's not really a planner. He's more of a sorts my life insurance out and my sort of product requirements, if you like. And he said, just don't worry about it. Focus almost on what makes you happy at the moment. So if selling the house was traumatic, or if buying the house was traumatic, selling the house was traumatic, or buying Martin out was traumatic, if you don't need to do it, don't. Don't stress about money.
Yep.
So what the best bit of advice I had was put your well-being before the money. And you asked me the question just before we started recording, about whether because I'm currently in a rented property. I've still got 120 grand in the bank, and you're like, well, are you going to rent? And I'm like, yeah. Well, renting logically makes no sense because you're effectively paying somebody's mortgage and the property prices are going up. But I don't want the responsibility at this moment of a property, of maintaining it, of having that fixed asset in a fixed asset that at some point I might have to sell or might not be able to sell. So I think the best bit of advice I had since you interviewed me for the book was just, give yourself a breather if that's what you need. Don't get stressed about what the markets are doing. And if you need to rent, you need to sell it. Just do what you need to do. So yeah, it was interesting. I think that's, and advisors are very knowledgeable, as you are one. And I think sometimes they do bring an element of logic, more often than probably most consumers give them credit for, really. There's a money's important, but it's not more important than your well-being. It's just not.
No, you're right. Absolutely. And it is one of the main causes of stress and breakdown of marriage as well. So
yeah,
another thing you told me about managing your money was to allocate it into various pots. Do you still do that? 20% of your income to your daughter, 20% to travel, 10% to save, 50% to live?
It's interesting. I kind of do mentally. Physically, I don't, because obviously when I sold the house, effectively I got about £150,000 land in my bank account kind of overnight. So there was less of a need to allocate. But what I did do, I don't know why, and we can talk about that another time, I suppose, but I went on this buying rampage of buying T5 transporter camper vans.
Yeah,
I don't know what
you still have a bit of a fetish for. It was lovely when visiting the UK to drive one, so it worked for me.
Handy. But I say to people, most girls buy Jimmy Choos and Christian Louboutin shoes. I buy T5 transporters.
Well, Volkswagen would be very grateful.
But at one point, I had 3. Well, randomly, I have now got 1. So effectively, I sold my house and I got about 150 grand in the bank. I bought various vans, of which I have only recently just sold 2 of them. So now I have my one van that I love, called Alfie, black, beautiful, T5 transporter. Love him, right? So he's the one that I'm keeping. He cost me 30,000. So I have actually not really wasted too much money, and I've got £120,000 in the bank. Now I've sold my vans and I feel like I've got my pot of money back to what my pot of money will ever be.
Yep.
I now can make some decisions about what I do with it.
Yep.
Whether I invest, whether I allocate it into parts. But it's still that same logic of, have a saving pot and put in. But what I do is I obviously get my wages, I get my salary. I know from a personal budgeting perspective what I'm going to spend. And at the end of the month, before I get paid again, I literally just move all of my leftover money into what is currently known as my house pot. Yep. I just stick it all in. Yep. So I've got at the end of the month, I'll have £50 in the bank account, and then I'm going to get paid again.
Yep.
And then whatever I don't spend, I move it all over. And I'm starting to build up quite a nice amount of money because I live by myself with Ruby, and we're locked in because of the global pandemic currently. So I've not really spent anything other than on a huge amount of food.
I have heard some of the online spending trends have gone up a bit. So if you're not an online spender, you should be okay.
There was a picture that I shared on Facebook the other day, and it's like, I've done so much shopping. If UPS turn up with a llama, I wouldn't be surprised. Because I have totally forgotten. I have got to the point where I have actually forgotten what I've ordered, and I'm like, didn't I order about a month ago? But it's still not here. And if a llama did turn up with UPS, I would not be surprised.
When we weren't able to get our nails done at the very beginning, my daughter's like, "Oh, Mum, you've got to buy a kit." And of course, it took 8 weeks to turn up, and the salons opened the week it turned up. So it's like, whatever. Obviously, you can't rush these things.
I've never spent so much money on food in my whole life. I don't like. Seriously, if I keep going, I'm going to be the size of a large universe if I keep eating the stuff I'm buying.
But again, if you're buying and eating at home, it probably means you're saving by not going out to the restaurants that are all now closed. So there's probably a trade-off there as well.
Which is true, yeah, for sure.
Now, I remember speaking to you after we'd done the book, and you said to me, Amanda, the question you asked me about Ruby, nobody's ever asked me that before. And I'd said to you, what would you like her to learn about money? And at that stage you went, oh, don't know.
Yeah.
So you did come back to me with an answer, said you don't give her pocket money as a gift. You do make her work for her pocket money. Has that changed since we spoke?
The thing, well, I tell you what, I actually watched, and if you want to, share the link, I can share the link with you. But Cameron Herald, who was a speaker, I first met him at MDRT, Top of the Table, which is, people will know that you're a massive MDRT fan in terms of a professional body. And he was speaking in Hawaii to the Top of the Table members, and I managed to get chatting to him afterwards, and we were talking about kids. And he said, have you seen my TED talk on teaching children entrepreneurship? And I said, no, I haven't. But at that night, after I left him, having drinks and stuff, I went and watched it, and I snuggled up in bed. And it basically talks about the fact that, you need to, all children probably aren't entrepreneurs, but you can teach them entrepreneurship. So I think what the lesson now, Ruby is older, following on from our first interview, is, a couple of things, and I'm doing it in a softly way. But for example, she wanted a load of Lego friends, which is, like Lego, but it's all the kind of girly set. So what we did was, only one set did she buy new. All of the other sets she bought off Facebook Marketplace, but she bought them with her own money, and she kept all the boxes. And I explained to her that if she kept all the boxes and all the bags and kept the books nice, what that would mean is that when she wanted to sell them, she simply made them back up, put them back in the bags and the book boxes, and resell them. And I can tell you, because there was so much of it and she spent so much on it, she was careful how she kept the pieces. She was careful how she kept the books. And now we're at the phase, and lockdown's a perfect opportunity for us to do this, to rebuild all this Lego. And she's going to post it on Facebook Marketplace, and she'll sell it in some cases for more than she bought it for. Because some of the sets, when I saw them on Facebook, I'm thinking, that's way cheap, way too cheap. That woman doesn't realize what Lego's going for. So that's what I'm teaching her at the moment. It's sort of buying, selling, we're doing things like sorting out stuff to go to the charity, like the thrift stores and stuff. But she's asked if we can do a car boot sale, like a market store, when when it all opens again. And I've kept it, and it's all gone into storage. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And she'll wheel a deal with the customers for sure.
Oh, look,
she'll be like, no, it's
want
worth
to
£1.
be on the end of a wheeling and dealing with Ruby. I remember when she
Absolutely,
toured with you
wouldn't.
on your speaking tour, and if somebody didn't
Oh
want to
my
buy what you were selling, she wasn't impressed with that advice.
Well, I said to her, well, even that day when we did that tour, I said to her, Ruby was like, why would you not want to buy my mummy's book? Why would you not want to buy it? And I remember literally rescuing this poor lady from Ruby, going, Ruby, she doesn't want my book. It's so embarrassing.
Well, at least she's an advocate. She's a raving fan, and I suppose that's what you want for your daughter.
She was only 5, Amanda. Christ,
she was then too, that's right.
But yeah, so that's what I'm teaching Ruby, is to look after stuff, keep it clean, keep it together, and you'll probably sell it for the same amount, if not more, than what you bought it for.
Yeah, it's a good point. I actually taught my son about entrepreneurship quite early. He's actually now a financial advisor in my business, but he wanted to buy a gaming console. And look, I am just not a fan. Don't like it myself, time waste, whatever, all the reasons. And he came to me, of course, as a young teenager and went, Mum, I want to get a PlayStation. And I said to him, look, I will never buy one for you, but if you earn the money, do the research, I will not stop you from buying one. So you come to me with a plan. So he ended up getting a lawn mowing run and car wash business going in the driveway. And I mean, these were $700, I think, back at the time. And I said, you also need to come to me with 3 offers that you've researched in the marketplace. Go to 3 or 4 different retailers, come back and tell me who's got the best deal, who's including the most accessories or games, so that you know to play them off. And he actually came to me one day and goes, Mum, I figured if I charge $25 for that car, but I get my mate to wash it for $10, I actually don't have to do any of the work and I'm still making money. So he sort of took it a bit next level. And look, he did make the money. He did have to lay-by it and pay it off over some time, which the retailer was fine with. But I don't think those lessons ever hurt when they're young.
Absolutely not.
To be able to
Amanda,
achieve something, and they appreciate it.
Absolutely. And, you've just told me about, finding a Fitbit, tracking your GPS for Matt. Well, you've just told me exactly what you've just done, which is research the market, and you've got it for $400 and not $1,000. And your words were, I'm pretty happy with that. Well, actually, regardless of whether you can afford $1,000 or not, it's quite rewarding to do what you've just done. Because you've got a deal and you save money and it's like wheeler dealing. So I think one of the things a lesson that I think I picked up during the time of separating from Martin, selling the house, is it's good to hustle.
Yep.
Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hustling. That's all it is. I think most people lose their ability to hustle. I've got no intention of losing my ability to hustle, as do you.
No, well, you can become complacent. You might go, and I've got a better income now, I don't need to do that. But like you said, it doesn't hurt to keep those skills in, because every dollar you don't spend can go towards something else. And whether that's paying down debt or an investment or whatever, great idea.
Or buying your dream house. It doesn't matter, does it?
No. Now, I don't know. I know you've had some regulatory changes for financial advisors in the UK. Australia's just coming off the back of a Royal Commission and massive regulatory changes. And you work with advisors. Now, a lot of people, there's a lack of trust. There's those stories of, the one guy who ripped everybody off. What value do you see for Mr. and Mrs. Blogs or, Joe Average, who goes, I don't need an advisor? What advantage do you see for people to go, actually, you know what, this is what you can achieve from working with an advisor?
Yeah, I think, one of the reasons that, I'll answer the question, but just to lay that in, one of the reasons that I work with financial advisors and I've chosen to only stay with financial advisors as a coach is because ultimately my drive is that let's imagine I help you have a better business and a better team and a more successful financial planning practice, effectively that has a ripple effect on every single consumer, Mr. and Mrs. Blogs, that you help, because they're going to get better service, they're going to get a better version of you. So when I say the words that are going to come out of my mouth, I don't just say them. I don't say them lightheartedly. I've selected to work with a profession, i.e., financial planners, and give my whole life to an industry that I see so much value in, and that's actually cost me relationships, more than one, because I work incredibly hard to support a sector across the world that can do so much and so give so much value. So, these are not just words coming out of my mouth. This has cost my personal life in many, many times. So I think for Mr. and Mrs. Blogs, money is a mechanism. Money is the means by which ultimately you can or will not live the life you want. So if money is attached to aspirations, to dreams, to a lifestyle that you crave or that you desire, why on earth would you not seek advice on how to maximize every dollar to get you the life you want? Ultimately, that's what it boils down to. So it's like, we have our health, and it's the same reason, people don't get a nutritionalist. Why would you not get a nutritionalist? Because your body and your health is the only thing you have. Why would you not go and seek out a professional person who knows their expertise to advise you on the best things to put into your body? Why would you not?
I suppose it's like the accountability as well, like the PT. You know how to exercise at home, but are you going to do it as hard as you do when this person's telling you to do it? So same with the advisor. Coaching you to be the better you financially.
Yeah, and there are, and I think there's a lot of horror stories about financial advisors, as there are with other professionals. As there are with car body.
Oh look, there's dodgy lawyers, there's dodgy priests, there's dodgy teachers, there's dodgy in every profession. So unfortunately, that's never going to go away. So you find someone you're comfortable with.
Absolutely. And I was just about to say, it's fit. You've almost got to feel like, I would say I'm quite in tune with my spiritual side, and I have been more so over recent years as I've got older. And I realized that the universe is going to do what the universe needs you to do and will do for you what it needs. But one of the things I would say is that, when you sit down with an advisor or anybody, whether this be friends or anybody, you've got to feel the vibe. You've got to feel the fit. You've got to feel the sparkle that happens between two people or three people. And, if you sit down with an advisor and you're sitting there thinking, this just don't feel right, it's because it's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So move on.
I've even told clients to go and interview advisors. I said, go interview 2 or 3 and work out who you're comfortable with.
Absolutely.
Because it is horses for courses. I mean,
it is.
I know personally there's people you just resonate with and there's people you don't. So,
it's just fit. It's the vibe. It's the, your tribe are your vibe and your vibe are your tribe. And I think you've got to surround yourself with people that get you, that understand you. And, a financial advisor is no different. But money makes the world go round. Money got me and Martin out of a situation amicably rather than nastily, because we had the means by which we could make stuff happen. I've just separated from Mark, and because I've got 100 grand in the bank, I literally just walked out the front door and went and set myself up in a flat somewhere else with me and Ruby, and we're dead happy. But only money allowed that to happen. If I had no money, I'd have been in a terrible situation. And you need advice. You need to know what's best to do with that money, even if it is, we'll just sell the house and sit on it for 2 years. That makes you well, and that
gives you the breathing space to figure it out.
100%. But you need that advice. I love advisors. I say it all the time, Amanda, and you know how I feel about you guys as a profession. It's the most rewarding job on the planet, and it's people need to have a bit of that in their life.
It's funny, Australia's I suppose eased their restrictions in the last couple of weeks, and actually sitting down face to face with clients again, I'm like, I've forgotten how much I really love this. Yeah. Because it's all Zoom or webinar or phone
your arms around them, aren't you? I said to honestly, like, this is true, and I'm so bad. I'm a bit of a if there's words in my brain, they have to come out of my mouth. And I said to a client the other day, I was like, let's hope there are no conferences this year, because I'm going to snog every financial advisor that I do. And I thought, oh my God, I really did just say that out loud. That wasn't even a thought in my head that I kept. I'm
Well, I
going to
know
come
there's
in
a
like
few who
full
take you
horse,
up on it.
and they're all like, "Oh, I hope there's like a conference by the time November's here." But I'm literally, I can't wait. I can't wait to get back with my tribe, and and we should be at
In Anaheim this week.
And
yeah.
You should be, and we'll miss it. And the only reason I wasn't actually going is because I should be in South Africa.
Okay.
The only reason.
So everything
I was supposed to be speaking at the FPI conference, but that's why I couldn't be in two places at once. But yeah, we're going to be Frenchie and advisors left, right, and centre by the time this is all over.
All right. So after all that advisor snogging, what is your favourite form of investment? Oh my goodness.
Ask me that question again because I was laughing when you said it. Go on. Do that again.
Your favourite form of investment?
In myself. So you mean other than in myself? I think favourite form of investment. Well, for me at the moment, I think property's got to be up there. The UK property market is just going through the roof in terms of investing in. So if I was to do anything, I would take my £100,000 and I would buy another property with it. And I think that's obviously quite key. In terms of investing in the market, personally, I'm always a little bit scared of it because it's a non-tangible. It feels a bit sort of it's in the hands of somebody else. But then I'm very much I think I'm very much a passive investor in terms of I let the money do what let the money do what the money needs to do. I wouldn't get stressy about it. I wouldn't try and track the market, beat the market. I'm not really into shares and buying shares in firms because then my money's in totally somebody else's hands. So I think I invest in the market. I would invest in the markets, but I would probably be let the world do what the world's going to do and let the money just ride with it. And then even obviously the coronavirus pandemic, people have overnight. I know from speaking to so many of you guys that their clients were just losing it because the markets went down by 8%. But actually, they've recovered.
Yeah,
and they'll keep recovering.
Yeah.
And if they go down again, they'll recover again.
Exactly.
So I think if you're going to invest, it's got to be for the long term, for sure.
You also said your business was a big favourite of yours.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I invest. I mean, my business. I invest in my business, which is why I only take out of my business the money I need. So I take a modest salary and a modest dividend payment, shareholder dividend. And, and I invest in the people, I invest in products because, effectively, if I put money into my business, it's probably the best return I'll ever get, more than I'll get in property.
Yep.
So it's a bit like, it is definitely my cash cow, I would say, putting money into the business and, hiring a new member of staff on, which is effectively, say it's $80,000 Aussie dollars, 90,000 Aussie dollars a year. If I put that into the business on a monthly basis, then that person probably would make me more than 90,000 Aussie dollars.
That's the investment, isn't it? The return on the investment. Yeah.
It's incredible. So, as a person that has a business, I would say my best chance of return on my investment is my business. So that's probably why I've never invested in the markets. I've only ever invested in property. And, I mean, if you look at it, right, it's interesting. So the property piece. So I banked £150,000 and I had that house for 14 years. I bet if you look, I've probably paid not too shy of that in interest to have that house to the bank. So have I really made £150,000? I've got it in the bank, but it's only what I've paid in interest.
It's enforced savings over that time.
So I think it's definitely my business is my best investment, and I continue to invest in it, continue to do so, which is why I take out only what I need. I'm not frivolous with money. I'm sensible, and if I don't need to take a dividend because I don't need to take certain bonuses out of the business, I'll just leave it in and spend it on hiring a new member of staff, which is going to make me way more money than doing anything else with that money.
And I mean, we've had an exciting collaboration come up since we did the book well. So for those who don't know, Michelle and I have partnered together and we'll be releasing a course to financial advisors around the world to create financial abuse specialists. So we're pretty excited about launching that in the coming months.
It's incredible, Amanda. You know what? I mean, you take that, you asked me about investing in my business. Well, I've invested hours, as have you, as has Dee, my team, my head of service in the business. That is such an incredible thing that we've done. And I actually, as I sit regularly thinking about it, I don't think we realise what we've done, in truth. I think you probably have a much better idea being an advisor that's advised clients who have experienced financial abuse. But we've done a remarkable, incredible thing, because it's interesting. I wrote on a little note I've been doing these. I'll share them with you when we get around to chatting about it. But I've done these little word swags, and one of them says, financial planners, how about rather than changing a life, you save a life? And I think having somebody who a consumer can go to that has expertise, knowledge, and a certification to prove that they are a specialist in the area of financial abuse might just save their life.
Absolutely.
Yep. And that's something that I've never been in that space before, where I've literally saved somebody's life, not that I'm aware of, but this is it. And what a remarkable thing we've done.
Yeah,
it's all in pure effort.
Yeah, sweat equity for both of us in that.
It's remarkable. So yeah, I'm super excited about that. And that came from your book. That all came from you.
It did.
Didn't it?
Yes, I hope to be interviewing the lady who kicked all that off very shortly. So before we have to sign out, is there one book tip that you would give people if they wanted to learn more about money or personal development or business development? Do you have a favourite book?
Yeah, I think everybody should read The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Yeah, and I think the reason that they should is because it just teaches us so many lessons about doing more with less. And I think it's like money. Do more with it. It doesn't matter how little you have. If you've got 100,000, make sure you do more with it rather than just sitting on it. Time, do more with it. Relationships, do more with them. And I think that's the best book to sort of capture every aspect of living and life and just making the most out of everything that you've got. And it's been a few years actually since I read it, and a friend of mine is currently reading it, and it's made me spark up. The other thing I would say, and it's not a money book, but honestly, it's literally blown my brains out, is for any women listening to this podcast or any men that know women, it's a book called, in fact, I've flipping forgotten what the book's called. Hang on. Oh, no, it's called, hang on, I was going to Google this. I've got to get this right. Is
it The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse? Is that the one? No, it is?
No.
No, it's a different one? Okay.
No, it's called, I've just Googled it, Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Oh, yes, I did see you put that up recently. Okay.
Oh, my God,
I'll have to put that
Amanda.
on my list. Yep.
It's absolutely incredible, this book. And I was literally listening to it in the car yesterday going, I was literally my hands on the steering wheels going, oh my God. Just I was driving. Incredible.
Right, you've set some big expectations there. I'm looking forward to picking it up.
Every woman. In fact, I've got it on audiobook, and I'm going to get Ruby to listen to it. It's an incredible book for women. Oh my God.
Look forward to reading
outstanding book.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with me this afternoon, morning for you, and look forward to rolling this out and, starting the series on the book. Thank you for kicking it off for me.
I love you, Amanda. I love you so much, and I think the work that you're doing and everything you do as an advisor and the trials and tribulations that you go through to be an advisor with the Royal Commission and running a business, you're just one of the best. So thank you for everything you do. Incredible.
Oh, thank you, beautiful.
Effort.
All right, let's chat again soon.